I love great conversations. Hi, my name is Angel Jones. Thank you for joining me on 12-Minute Convos, where I help you create a brand of your own unique real self. Listen in as I have conversations with amazing people from all over the world. Good night, Johanna Lynn. How are you going on this wonderful, beautiful night?
I am fantastic. Thank you for having me here.
You're welcome. What part of the world are you in right now?
I'm in Ottawa, the capital of Canada.
All right. And which of your talents is responsible for us connecting at this time?
I just love this question. My work and what I'm all about is the fascination of what parents share with their children. What's passed on right in the DNA, sort of these invisible influences where our emotional patterns come from, how we show up in relationships and life. This is what really lights me up.
My wife was speaking to me today after her accountability group meeting, and she was expressing that this was one of the conversations that popped out. They used the acronym SIS, which is suffering in silence, and how women can tend to do that. Well, that's an all-women group, and they were speaking specifically about how women tend to do that. Who did you learn this skill from to identify and understand that there are so many things that pass through that specific DNA, if you would?
So I have three really influential teachers. The first being a gentleman named Bert Hellinger, who is 91 years young. Well, actually about to turn 92, I think, next week. And still facilitates this beautiful work. So he's just had such a huge contribution to helping us understand, how any of us get to be the way we are. And then my teachers, Mark Willin and Susie Tucker, who've both written books, and just sort of how we hold the family inside of our body and how that influences so many of our thoughts and ways of responding to life.
So your skill specifically is identifying it or helping individuals reframe it? I guess it's the same, right? You need to identify it before you can reframe it, right?
That's a great question. I think a lot of times I'll see people that have, chronic health conditions, or they've seen every expert or every doctor, and we can't quite put a finger on what it is to move to a resolution to get them free of it. And so the finding out what it is, where it lives in the family history, and then moving into integration so that life feels lighter, things just work with greater ease.
Where's the best place for someone to connect with you, Johanna?
My website is www.johannalynn.ca.
And again, Johanna and Lynn has two N's, yeah? So
That's right.
JohannaLynn@one.com. Well, tell us, my friend, why you will continue to repeat this skill.
I think for me, it's got a lot of a pay it forward kind of energy. When I found this work, it helped to heal my own relationship with my parents. I showed up in my marriage differently. I began to mother our son from a more present and compassionate place. It healed a lot of the upsets that were in my earlier life. And then when I see the change that it can bring to my clients, it just feels like, more people have to know about this. So it feels like a generous way to connect people to solutions.
That's wonderful. Love that. Well, do tell us one other thing that you've done consistently over the last 3 years.
Well, I'm really big into my yoga practice. I love Kundalini yoga. It feels like a great way to connect breath and sort of the technology of really staying with change that sticks. It allows me to arrive really full with my clients. As you could imagine, some of the stories I hear, some of the plights that people are up against can be rather heavy. And so it allows me to, it's just a really strong self-care practice, and it's really never let me down. I start off each morning with that, and I love it.
Why would you suggest someone do that that's listening and just enter into that space, if you would?
Well, I love the idea of filling up our own cup first before we give out to others. And the more I've studied about mantra and sound and breath and movement. It feels like it's got everything all wrapped up in one. And I've just kind of fallen for it. It really supports me.
Amazing audience, you're hearing it live from Johanna Lynn. Again, you can connect with her by going to johannalynn.com. Double N's in Johanna and Lynn. Johanna, let's switch gears for a moment now and let me invite you into my time machine that is surrounded with beautiful, warm, blue Caribbean water. Johanna, what is your earliest childhood memory?
You know what it is? It was hanging out with my mom in the kitchen making cookies. And it was something we would do regularly, and then we would welcome my sister into the mix, and it was just a light time of lots of laughter, and of course, who could argue with fresh baked cookies at the end of that memory? So it's very very close to my heart, and now I get to recreate that with my son.
Oh, that's amazing. How old were you at that point in time?
I think my earliest memory goes back about maybe 4 or 5.
All right.
And then my sister and I have 4 years difference, so maybe 8 or 9 again.
Why do you think this particular memory is so clear?
Well, I think life was, fairly full as a child. I grew up in a family of 3. Things were busy, off to school or off to after school activities. And this seemed to be a time when things slowed down, when it was more about connection and laughter. So it sticks out.
How do you see this memory connecting to who you are today?
Well, there's something about how I see working with families that really, whatever goes on inside of a family, it tracks back to love. And so I think that the work I do with families is a way to contribute to world peace, even if it's one family at a time. So to bring more of that warmth, the importance of connection to each person so that they have access to that.
Can I offer an interpretation to the thought picture you created in my mind?
I'd love that.
In Trinidad, we know about soul food, and definitely the energy, the vibe you bring in the kitchen definitely affects what you create thereafter. So to see the image of the cookies being baked, and there's you and your mother, and then, as you said, I love when you said, and then we welcomed my sister into the mix. I love the idea of that energy that is really creating synergy, if you would, for the cookies, yes, but as well for so much more. I mean, now you're doing it with your children, right? So it's pretty fascinating how that connects.
That's it. I love that image of soul food, and really the infusion of the attitude you bring into the kitchen goes right into the food. I like that.
You're welcome. If we fast forward to when you were 12, what was your favorite song?
Well, George Michael is my absolute favorite musician. He's kind of the soundtrack of my life. Such a soulful, heartfelt voice. And yeah, he brings me back to some really, when life is lighter and easier kind of stuff. He's my voice.
All right. And what's one of the songs that you would choose?
Wow, just one? Oh my goodness. My gosh. His older album, I have to just pick the whole darn album, to be honest. It's just too good.
All right. Well, Johanna, we've arrived at our destination. But before we get off of this time machine, there is a small declaration form. So it's yes or no, possibly a bit more. We're going to move pretty quickly here. Are you ready, Johanna?
I'm ready.
Johanna, have you chosen someone to pass on your skills to?
Yes, I have a training program where I teach other professionals who want to bring in this family piece.
Where can people connect with that?
Right on my website, all the details are there.
Are you married?
I am.
Do you have children?
Yes, my son is 8, or our son.
Do you believe in God?
I do.
Do you have an inner circle of friends?
Oh, yes.
Do you watch TV for more than 3 hours a day?
Oh, very rarely. Maybe if I'm down with a cold or something.
What about screen time, the phone and or the computer? Is it more than 8 or less than 8 hours a day?
It would be less.
If you, Johanna, had to share with us your own unique real statement, a statement that represents Johanna Lynn, what would you say that is?
All that happens in a family has love behind it. Even if it's distorted love, it's still love at the roots. And a lot of times we just have to clear away what that is to find how to make love flow again.
Love it. Johanna, this was a great pleasure. Before you leave, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
Well, just that it's such a pleasure to be here, and I'm always open to connecting with like-minded folks. So if anything I've shared connects with the listeners, please do reach out. We'll have a conversation.
Love it. Johanna Lynn, thank you for being on What is Inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones. Thank you for being on 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones. Stay tuned for more from our advertisers.
Diabetes is a mountain pandemic. It's a disease that's not acute but chronic. Similar to this rhyming method, I have simplified the definition, the signs and symptoms, and the complications of diabetes for both adults and children in my books, Poems for Patients, A Focus on Diabetes, and The ABCs of Diabetes for Children. These books are available on Amazon.com, and for more information, you can visit my website, poemsbyaj.com. That's poemsbyaj.com.